We're often, again, coming from a TV world where you might do, a couple of ads per year. I was at a talk about a year ago from the CMO of Pepsi where he said, 4 or 5 years ago we did 4 pieces of video in a year, and this year we're doing 4,000. I was talking to a gentleman before the show started here talking about the velocity of content they're creating. So as we move to a world where we're creating more video assets, we're targeting them more at particular niches, we're trying to achieve different objectives from them, we're also moving to a world where brands are starting to think less about individual campaigns and more about the journeys that customers go on. So let me do a little illustration of journey and then come to questions. So this is a Muscle Milk campaign. It's actually particularly good. It's a football player who's very strong and showing what he can do for Muscle Milk.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on.
So terrific piece of creative. I love that campaign. And there's a whole series of them. So at the end of it, up comes, what do you want to watch next? Swimming, yoga, tennis. And it's a small example of a journey. But if we think about video used at all the different stages of customer journey, why do brands still think only of awareness? You still see a lot of brands just creating one awareness video. And what do you do as you're talking to brands about using video in more stages of the customer journey than just awareness?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's typically, in my experience at least, it's because there's a lot of silos in the organization. So you have a brand marketer that's solely charged with developing things like awareness and measured on impressions and that sort of thing. And then you have a digital team that tends to be focused on a lot more of the behavioral metrics that a site provides, like e-commerce and that sort of thing. And we're moving, the hierarchy of businesses are collapsing in a way where we're having a lot more flat structured organizations. We're having a lot more people that are focused more on their audiences and less on the channels or the the traditional roles that they've had in the past as marketers. So I think as we become a more consumer-focused industry, and as we structure ourselves against that, we're going to have more people held accountable for results across the entire journey, and not just the CMO. CMOs now are being held accountable for crazy lower funnel behavioral metrics. We have them, site traffic and things that a CMO wouldn't have to be accountable for a few years ago.
Test drives, in the case of Mike Agavetti.
Butts and seats.
I think, frankly, some of our clients just don't know that it works because maybe there aren't a ton of case studies available, or they aren't willing to take the risk, or whatever the reason is. I mean, I know we've had some campaigns for some of our higher education clients where they're trying to drive applications for MBA programs. And when we tell them things like, did you know that we can put an email capture form right within this piece of video content that we've created? And they're like, wow, you can do that? And then we do it and we compare it to the multi-million-dollar traditional digital banner campaign that they're running across publishers, and they're seeing 3, 4, 5, even 6 times the information that they're able to capture versus their more traditional methods, and their interest is piqued, and they're like, I want to do this all the time. So I think they just, in some instances, haven't tried it, and they want to stick with tried and true, and that's video at the top and moving into other methods, retargeting, email marketing, whatever it is, to keep those people in the funnel and drive them through to purchase. They just haven't really had the opportunity to try something else.
One of my earliest memories as a young advertiser, very early on in my career, was a creative director telling to me when we pitched this really wacky idea. I was like, are they going to go for it? Is the client going to buy this? He goes, who cares? We're going to learn, and the client's going to pay for it, and it's going to be great. And that's like, that mindset is totally irrelevant now. I mean, if you can't measure the outcome, if you aren't an objective-driven marketer, you don't really have a place in the world anymore, in my opinion. And I think that, awareness used to be kind of the lazy answer of like, well, really, we're just making work to make work, and it's sort of a selfish, it's for us, but it'll raise your awareness. And I would say now, if you have an awareness goal and it's about driving discovery, it's about announcing a new product, you can use post-view surveys to measure brand lift. I mean, that's marketing. Just saying, we got 1 million impressions against your target, that's not marketing.
Yeah, and the connectivity across all of those experiences is still a relatively new thing that I think people and brands are trying to engage with and execute. And the fact that you can use, you can follow someone, you can keep a relationship with them. I mean, that's a fairly modern concept in advertising, because advertising has been about, doing one thing at one point in time, and now it's we have the ability to reach people as humans and build those personal connections. Which, if you don't do that, then you are going to look at things in a very siloed manner.
And I think to your point, that a couple of you made, it's moving to a more accountable time. And to your point about people were going for metrics that really weren't meaningful, it reminds me of a few years ago, the debate about what is a Facebook like worth. Mm-hmm. Is it worth $1 or is it worth $20? Well, if you get it by handing out tchotchkes at your booth, if they like your page, it's worth nothing. So you're trying to move to more meaningful metrics that actually relate to the journey that someone is making. So you guys come from different types of agencies, and it's a little bit by design. So PR, social, and media creative. So you represent these very different spectrums. It's interesting to see many types of agencies beyond traditional media agencies doing video in very creative and innovative ways. Do you see yourself, you're getting media budgets, do you see yourself running into conflict with sister agencies, if I could address this to you guys, as you see video being used in what have traditionally been areas that don't do media?
Yes. It's definitely a tricky place. Like I said in the beginning, Weber specifically is not trying to become Metavision. That's not our game. Our goal is to simply provide an alternative option for clients who don't have $100 million to spend on some type of digital advertising. If a client has $1,000, $5,000, we'll come up with a solution that works for them to at least get it out there, because every platform is paid. Just putting things out into the ether, this is no longer like if you build it, they will come. That doesn't happen. They don't see it. So our perspective is a little bit different. And yes, we certainly do run into challenges with other agency partners, but our answer is always, we don't care who distributes the content as long as somebody is distributing the content and correctly. I know there's been a lot of experiences that we've had with ViralGains and other partners where some of our media partner counterparts just don't know about a certain type of partner or a placement, and we bring it to the table and I'll say, look, here, I'll even give you like our rates, like whatever we can do to just make it happen. That's our goal. And because at the end of the day, it's, are we driving the client objective and are we hitting it? So that's kind of our take.
And the PR world has so profoundly changed. Yes. It's not just press releases and press conferences.
So to reference A Tale of Two Cities again, I feel like there's two opposite trends that are happening. One is hyper specialization. So again, Socialize is this hyper specialized specialty team that we just do social media. I don't touch YouTube anymore. So that's one trend where Havas has really invested heavily in that model, and that's what they're betting on. The other trend is everyone's doing everything. So I've been reading a lot recently. I know we were just talking about this earlier today, that all these business consultancies, be it Bain or whoever else, they're getting into digital media, and all these media companies and advertising agencies are getting into consulting. So I feel like it's so competitive, and in some ways you could say that the industry is sort of flat or slightly stagnating, and everyone's trying to increase their growth, drive their growth by getting into more realms. So I don't know. I mean, those can't both happen at the same time. You can't be specialized and generalized at once. So again, my personal philosophy is do one thing well. That's how you open this up. I agree with that. We're aligned. But the trends are definitely, I think you can't just say, oh, we just do PR, because you're not going to get the account if you can't also do community management and brand storytelling and everything else. So we'll have to see how it shakes out.
It's kind of like technology is part of that too, right? It reminds me of the democratization of like studio recording software. Like everyone can be an artist on SoundCloud now. And it like sounds pretty good, like you could do an album tonight and it would be amazing, But and then you've got like your analogy, Chance the Rapper, who doesn't have a label, and then you have labels now who are representing artists having to spend more money to, get them out in front of people who, and you have just artists that blow up. So I worry every day, like what's my job going to be in 5 years? I have no idea, because we're all competing for the same work. We're all capable of doing the same work. I think it comes down to, again, how do you think in a consumer first way, and that will always win, because the work that relates to the user in the best way is always going to be the work that that transcends everything else. But yeah, it's an interesting time to be in marketing and to be a creator or a media buyer or a strategist,
Yeah, there's a phrase that went around in business some years ago that I think really applies here. The phrase is mass customization. And if you think about it, the TV era was about mass production, mass consumption. And the digital video era is about creating for an audience of one, but economically and at scale. So if Pepsi's doing 4,000 videos, if you're creating content that you're trying to target to different kinds of people who have different understandings of the product, it's really interesting. There's a motorcycle company that we worked with that I thought was very innovative in the way they used video. They had a new motorcycle to launch. So they knew a lot about their customers for existing bikes, but this was a new one. They did 7 different videos, each one representing a different use case of why you ride. So one was the freedom of the open road. One was, it's a camaraderie. I'm with my friends. We're all together. One was, I'm a 5'3", 100-pound woman, and this bike is light enough and maneuverable enough that it's not too heavy. I can operate it. They ran all 7 videos. We actually ran all 7. We saw which ones got the highest engagement. More dollars went behind the ones that got highest engagement. But I think just as interestingly, by asking at the end of each video, can you see yourself riding a motorcycle brand, name of product, they were able to build segments for each use case of why someone rides. So all of a sudden they had the audience of people who were motivated by freedom, the audience of people who were motivated by camaraderie, the audience of people who were motivated by bike size. And they could use that for future campaigns, for Facebook purchase, for segmentation. So I thought that was a really interesting use case. But you have to have, as you guys do, Marissa, production capability to do 7 videos economically with high production values. That's not easy to do.